Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another AFC EAST Summit show. It was supposed to be Tuesday, but Halloween and all that things got a little hectic, so we just decided to push it to today. So we're happy to be back, and we have a great show for you. It's just me and Anthony today. No Bills rep, no Patriots rep, but we'll hold down the fort. Anthony, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. I was surprised when we yet again didn't have a Bills rep, and then we didn't get the New England Patriots. I feel like we're in a Hunger Games situation. So who's it going to be after me tonight, me or you?
Well, I mean, I'm feeling good about my chances. I don't know about you.
I don't know. We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah. So let's get right into it. The Jets last week.
We can get into the Jets. What I was figuring is that we just go chronologically at this point because there's two of us and we got four teams to cover, so we might as well start at the beginning with the Bills.
Okay. So the Bills took on the Bucs Thursday night. It was not a pretty victory, I don't think, but it was a victory.
We are 3 weeks in a row, and they are barely surviving. Pretty average team.
Yeah, they're looking. They're a tough team for me to figure out, honestly, because they have the talent to be so much better than they've looked. And Josh Allen he's looked mortal. That game wasn't as close as the final score would indicate, I don't think, and yet the Bucs were still a Hail Mary away from winning that.
I mean, not even like a Hail Mary away, like Godwin sees that ball and the game's over because the Bucs went for it too on the score before that.
Yep.
Godwin catches that. All they need is the extra point.
Yeah, exactly.
It's wild. I mean, that Bucs team is trash.
Yeah. You mentioned Baker Mayfield being spunky, and
right.
He showed some of that spunk in that game.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I've always liked Baker Mayfield coming out of college and even with the Browns and everything. And, he did not play a great game. He didn't play a great game at all, but he had the Bucs in a place where they could have won. I guess that's all you can really ask of him.
I mean, that game shockingly ran through Rachaad White. He was their leader in rushing yards, 39, not much, but still 7 receptions, 70 yards.
Yeah.
He kind of carried that offense, and it wasn't that much of an offense, but at the same time, like you said with Baker Mayfield, they just sort of hung around.
Yeah.
And the Bills had every opportunity to just put it away.
Yeah. And there were a couple of bad penalties on that last drive there that kept the drive alive for the Bucs. And I think it was something like a 19-play drive the Bucs had to go down and get within a score of the Bills.
Mm-hmm, to get the score to get to the 18, and then I mean, it was just a couple plays before they were within range of like a Hail Mary, and then Baker puts it up there, and the refs could have blown flags in both ways. I don't know if you saw that. I watched that play over and over again at the very end, and it was like two guys holding who was it? Let me look at the Bucs player. It was two guys holding Raheem Jarrett out of the end zone, like literally just holding him out of the end zone, holding it like it's a punt gunner. And then Mike Evans absolutely murdering some cornerback in the back.
Yeah.
And Chris Godwin just like getting into position to catch a punt and missing it.
Yeah. It's actually a mini miracle that more flags aren't called on those Hail Mary throws, because there's holding and jostling and refs just don't call it anymore. So
the refs really need to make a decision when passing pass interference is applicable and when it's not. It's applicable clearly inside of 2 minutes, but not inside of the last play.
Yeah.
So like, it'd be nice if we got a little alert on the screen, like all bets off on this play.
Yeah.
The unspoken rules of the NFL are really weird these days. All right, cool. So we'll go from there to go ahead and talk about your absolute drudging of the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, that's another game though where it was closer than the final score would indicate. The Patriots kept the Dolphins in within arm's reach that entire game, and the Dolphins are clearly the better team. That there's no denying that after that, and Tua is still undefeated against Bill Belichick, which is quite a stat. Yeah, Tua is still undefeated against Bill Belichick.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Excuse me. It was, Tua is good for one or two bad throws a game, and he got picked off in the first quarter of that game. Patriots went down and scored. They took full advantage of that. and then Tua kind of dialed himself back in, and that's one of the things that I really love about Tua Tagovailoa is he makes mistakes, and then he's kind of able to bring himself back. Just wanted to show Jake's comment. Thank you very much, Jake. What moves would you guys have liked to make? Yeah, so we're certainly going to get into that. What moves would have liked to have made. But as far as the Dolphins Patriots game goes, it was a good victory for the Dolphins against a tougher Patriots team than most people think. And the Patriots play almost everybody tough. So, Tua dialed himself back in. He had a short memory after that first interception. He played a nice game. And Jalen Ramsey in his return got himself an interception off of Mac Jones. That was really great to see. And now you're going to see a Jalen Ramsey who's going to be an ascending player because he's only going to be getting faster. He's only going to be getting his legs back underneath of him as the season goes on. So things are looking up for the Dolphins, I think. And Patriots, this is just looking like a lost season. I think I read a report the Patriots are scouting quarterbacks ahead of the draft in the spring, and they should be. Because Mac Jones, I don't think, is the answer.
One of the things I was noticing, obviously Mac Jones didn't have a particularly good game, and Tua did look pretty decent. Was that Kendrick Bourne's down with an ACL, and he was basically the only thing going well for the Patriots, going through this entire season to this point. And I agree with your point that it's kind of a lost season, but to be honest with you, I'm a little bit surprised, and we'll get into this when we talk about the trade deadline, but I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't look for, with the quarterbacks that went down, particularly Kirk Cousins, I was expecting maybe they might be in play to move Mac for, I don't know, whatever they could get for him to the Vikings. The Vikings, spoiler, made a move on their own, but this is a lost season. You can lose games with Mac Jones or Malik Cunningham or Bailey Zappi. Any of those players will lose you just as many games as Mac Jones at this point. You've got no receivers. You've got no real hope for the offense at this point. So, what are we doing? Besides, they're not going to. You would be hard pressed to imagine at this point that the Patriots would pick up Mac Jones' 50-year option, which would be a guaranteed, I think, $20 million.
I know I wouldn't.
You can't feel comfortable about that.
No.
So just move them. But the trade deadline came and went, and nothing really managed to happen on that front. And scouting quarterbacks is probably the right thing to do. But again, who's even going to be your head coach next year? I know they signed Bill Belichick for a long-term extension, but that team, if that team's not going to get much, how many more seasons of lost football does he want to coach?
I hear you, but
he's in his 70s now, late 60s.
Yeah, I think he's actually 70 now. I'll look that up.
But he's not as old as Pete Carroll. But how many more seasons of this do you want to coach? Is it fun? It doesn't look fun.
No, it certainly doesn't look fun. And I think so. I've always been of the mindset that Bill Belichick's going to go for the record. So Bill Belichick's actually 71 years old.
Yeah.
He'll be 72 prior to next season. So, So I've always been under the impression that Belichick wanted the record. He wants Don Shula's record. There was a long time ago before Don Shula passed, Don Shula made a comment that Bill Belichick would never touch his record. And I think Bill Belichick took that personally. And I really think that Bill Belichick wants that record. He wants Don Shula's record in both the regular season and in the playoffs. And, you know, within reason, I see Belichick coaching for as long as it takes to get that record. Let me just pull up a question here from Josh.
Go ahead.
Would you trade K9 and Thielen for Jamar Chase and Amari Cooper? No, I wouldn't.
Are we in fantasy?
Yeah, this is fantasy.
Yes, I would trade K9.
Would you?
And Thielen for Jamar Chase. I think that it depends on the league settings. Obviously, if you're in a PPR, anything you can do to get Jamar Chase now, do it. Like, yeah, especially like if it's dynasty, you got to put the rest of his life.
He would be giving up K9 and Thielen for Jamar Chase. Yes, I would do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would not 110% take anything whatever it takes to get a top 3 receiver. Jamar Chase is clearly that. Yeah. K9's a great receiver. Great players, but you know, Thielen is. Even for this season, you wind up doing it because you got to figure that Jamar Chase has at least one more 3-touchdown, 200-yard game in him just to get back right. And Amari Cooper, at least no matter how bad the wide receiver, the quarterback game is, like Amari Cooper is going to have a couple of 110 1-touchdown games.
Well, you know, he's been solid for the. Actually, have him in one of my leagues, and he's been solid for me all season. He's been my wide receiver 2/flex all season, and he's done a nice job for me. He's been what you want from your wide receiver 2/flex. So Josh, if I'm you, I'm smashing accept on that. And we're gonna get to Jake's question after we go over the Jets and Giants game. Not an exciting one, but the Jets stealing victory from the jaws of defeat.
Depends. No. Whose perspective do you want to look at it as? If you want to look at it as like you're neutral, you just watch like one of the greater comebacks you're going to see in football.
That's true. Yeah.
Like if you don't care about either team, like that's a fantastic way for a football game to end.
Yeah, but I did care about one of those teams, and I wanted to throw up after that game.
I thank you for caring about the Jets. I'm really glad. I wanted to thank Mike for this victory. Without his doubt at 24 seconds, I'm not sure that we could have done it. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I blame him.
All right. To recap it, looking at it from my perspective, like as a Jets fan, but also as somebody that tries to be objective as possible, the Jets offensively, like, let me back up for a second. All right. We're now down 5 offensive linemen on the injured reserve. 5. We lost our number 1 center, our number 2 center, and our number 3 center was a practice squad player they just elevated before the game. We are on week 9. We're headed into. I have no idea who's going to be healthy. There's a rumor that Joe Tippmann will be back. However, even with Joe Tippmann being back, we are going to play our 8th game because we had our bye already. And if I'm not mistaken, we'll be on offensive line combination number 8. Yeah. We literally have never had 2 consecutive games. No, it'll be offensive line combination number 7 because 2 games in a row we did have the same offensive line combination.
Okay.
It's really difficult to get continuity with that many problems along your offensive line because, and stats back me up on this, 5 bad offensive linemen play better when they are all together than 5 good offensive linemen that have never played together before.
Yeah.
Offensive line continuity is a real thing.
Yeah.
when you're completely unable to do it, and you can only sort of do it in sections right now, and our section that is only holding up is Mekhi Becton and Lakin Tomlinson, so our left tackle and our left guard are the only two that have played more than 5 games next to each other this season. So when you have that many continuity problems, and then you face a team like the New York Giants, who, granted, they're on a whole a very poorly built team, but that defensive line is no joke. Dexter Lawrence is a top 3 to 5 defensive tackle. In terms of disruption, he's an absolute freak of nature, and he lived in our backyard or our backfield. Kayvon Thibodeau, 8. Absolutely 8 on the outside. Particularly beat the crap out of Max Mitchell, but that first fumble came off of Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton only gave up 1 more pressure for the rest of the game. So on a whole, he was our best offensive lineman, but that doesn't say much because 3 of those guys are undrafted free agents or 4th-round picks or worse. So it's really difficult to get anything going. Breece Hall made the only offensive play of the game until the very end, and that was that, I guess, 53-yard reception where he forced 3 or 4 missed tackles, depending on how you feel about the strong side linebacker, whether or not he was actually even going for the tackle. So yeah, you're looking at a team that, like, one team that could get absolutely nothing going offensively, and then another team who we knocked Tyrod Taylor out of the game, broke his ribs. I made the joke on the last podcast that, like, we're just going to hit him until he doesn't want to get up, and it was only a joke, but he didn't get up.
Yeah.
He couldn't get up. I can't blame him. The broken ribs hurt.
Yeah, they do.
So we were down to Tommy DeVito, and all credit to the Giants. All credit in the world to the Giants for making about 30 carries in a row look more effective than it should have.
Yeah.
There was no hint that they were even going to throw the football. The Jets' inability to stop the most obvious play call of all time consistently. And credit again to the Giants for figuring out ways, using counter, using toss, running some zone reads. The zone read keeper from Tommy DeVito from their 5-yard line was excellent. I mean, dangerous, obviously, because your first quarterback, who is already your second quarterback, is removed from the game, and your next quarterback was simply, I think the broadcast said it was Saquon Barkley. Yeah, that was their backup option behind Tommy DeVito, and they still ran him. Credit to them. They got their points on the board. It was an ugly game in all aspects of watching it. Even if you like defensive football, it wasn't good. Like, even if you like defensive football, like, it's fun to watch schemed blitzes and stuff, but, like, the Jets' inability to stop the run, despite the fact that it was obviously coming, and then I mean, if you're a Giants fan, you probably, I mean, I watched a lot of Giants fans lose their mind on Twitter after that game, but you have to feel pretty confident with your coaching staff. I think that Wink Martindale showed a lot. I mean, he's a great defensive coordinator, and he pulled out all the stops that game. So that was, that was a credit to your coaching staff. That was a credit to your team. They didn't win the game, but, like, we know that they're a bottom 10 team, bottom 5, bottom 10 team, and, like, the Jets just beat the Philadelphia Eagles. You have to feel a little bit proud about your team if you're a Giants fan. Weird to me that they feel upset that they lost that one. Like, well,
they feel upset they lost that one because they had that game in the bag and they let it go. It's not a matter of playing the Jets tough or anything like that. That game was won, and they let the Jets off the hook.
But so what if they win that game? They're not going to the playoffs.
No, but
they're looking like, from a macro level, you're looking to see if the team still competes.
Yeah.
They've been getting the crap beaten out of them for most of the beginning part of the season, and now they've played the Bills and the Jets really hard back to back. Your coaching staff is not losing that locker room.
Yeah.
I've seen Jets coaches lose their locker room for less than this. For less than what the Giants did.
Well, I'd like to welcome Brett to the show. We finally have a Bills rep back on here, so it's good to see you, man. And I'm going to pose Jake's question to you first. Now, I know the Bills made a move for Rasul Douglas, and I personally think that's a great move. Were there any other moves you wanted them to make?
Yeah, I would have wanted them to make a move for a defensive tackle. That's an area that I thought that the Bills wouldn't go after. Brandon Beane, the general manager of the Buffalo Bills, has said that he's going to be in the market for a defensive tackle. There's guys like Ndamukong Suh for the Buffalo Bills that we could go after. That's a big name that we've talked about quite a bit. Guys like I can't even think of his first name, but Akeem Hicks. That's another guy that we could go after. Carlos Dunlap, who is playing defensive end, but that's another guy that I would love to see with the Bills. But other positions, offensively, I would always love another wide receiver. That's always an area that I think the Bills fans would love to see. But I think that overall what Brandon Beane did for the Buffalo Bills, getting another cornerback, which was a need for the team, that's an area that we could have went after, and I love the move. You got to remember the other thing is the Bills have a third-round compensatory pick that they will get from Tremaine Edmonds. That trade or that signing that he got with the Chicago Bears makes it even better for the Buffalo Bills. You're getting a third-round pick, giving up a third-round pick, so you're not really losing anything, and you're gaining a fifth-round pick in the draft as well for a veteran player who has a great locker room presence for the Green Bay Packers, and he comes over to a team that is needing a zone coverage cornerback, and it's going to make the Bills even better, make them tighter in coverage, which is something that Sean McDermott has tried to run, but they haven't been able to do it with Kaiir Elam. Now, the Bills didn't trade Kaiir Elam after he has an ankle injury. I think he's just not healthy. That's basically the reason why going after Rasul Douglas makes sense. Now you can get Rasul in here, put a guy like Kaiir Elam on IR, and let him get healthy in the offseason, and then make a trade for Kaiir Elam when he is healthy and able to get his value up a little bit too.
Okay. Anthony, what did you think of that Rasul Douglas signing by the Bills?
I like the player. I thought he was a pretty decent cover corner for the Packers. The only concern I have with him is he's coming from like a man-heavy scheme and going to his own scheme, and so you always kind of wonder when guys they're not the same skill set. So you do kind of wonder when guys are crossing the threshold. Some guys it doesn't make a difference.
Well, he played a lot of man in Philadelphia. I'll say that.
That's what I mean. He played a lot of man, not just in Philadelphia, but in Green Bay. So he played a lot of zone in Philadelphia. I should say. Okay.
Yeah.
So Green Bay was a very man-heavy scheme. So.
Yeah. But
otherwise, I thought a good player.
So I'm going to pose the question to you then, Anthony. What moves would you have liked the Jets to make at the deadline?
I mean, obviously every Jets fan is going to say just all the offensive linemen you can find. Yeah. But there aren't any. Nobody's trading offensive linemen because everybody's got three of them hurt.
Well, you guys did get Roger Saffold on the practice squad.
We got the Bills' worst offensive lineman who is still a free agent for a reason.
That's right.
I hope that Roger Saffold doesn't play this week. I hope that it's more that Tittman comes back. He's been hurt for the couple of weeks. I heard he hurt his I think it was his quadriceps a couple of weeks ago before the bye, and they came back into this game and it was hurt almost immediately. It's a Monday night game, so Saleh said that he has a chance to be back, which means he's likely on life support. But I'm hoping that we don't have to play Roger Saffold immediately. Like you hinted at, we just signed him, but he was the Bills' worst offensive lineman the last time we got him. I would have liked to see another wide receiver. Obviously, you want to see splash moves. Joe Douglas doesn't tend to make splash moves in the middle of the season. I would have liked to see them trade away Carl Lawson, who's really just at this point taking away snaps from Will McDonald. our first round pick this year. It would have been cool if we could have addressed offensive line like with a trade via trade. Last year, I don't know, it was last year or the year before that, they traded midseason for Lauren Duvernay Tardif.
Yeah, Laurent Duvernay Tardif, yeah.
Yeah, we traded for him, and he wound up being like a starter for us, which was useful. Like, you need kind of spot starter guys that can do that, that can just come in after a week or two that are like league average or slightly below. It's just to plug holes. Yeah, mostly just wide receiver, because you saw it exposed against the Giants. You saw it exposed against Philadelphia Eagles. Like, if it's not separation from Garrett Wilson, it's nobody. Like, it has to be a jump ball and like a prayer that like your players can make a play on a ball, because they're not creating any space on their own. Alan Lazard is just a jump ball merchant. Great to have, but just a jump ball merchant. And the tight ends are struggling to find space. So I would have liked to see that.
Okay.
What about you?
Dolphins, obviously offensive line. Now, like Ezra Cleveland was a guy that I was actually that got traded. I didn't expect him to get traded. He got traded from the Vikings to the Jaguars.
Yeah.
He was an offensive lineman that I liked coming out of college, and I would have liked the Dolphins to maybe kick the tires on. He was traded for a 5th round pick.
Yeah, he didn't cost that much, if I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, it was actually kind of comical, because Ezra Cleveland's he's got some good tape, and he's had a bit of a problem staying healthy, but a healthy Ezra Cleveland would be an upgrade over the left guard situation with the Dolphins that the Dolphins have. Isaiah Wynn went on IR, so he's probably done for the season. Mike McDaniel was reluctant to come out and say that Isaiah Wynn, but he basically said he's got a long road back. And so I don't know that he's going to make it back this season. Ezra Cleveland would have been a nice guy to plug in there, because now you're looking at Lester Cotton, who's just a guy. You're looking at maybe Robert Jones, who's coming off of an injury of his own. Maybe Liam Eichenberg, who you guys have heard me talk about at length on this show. I'm not his biggest fan. So it would have been nice to have gotten a guy like that in here. But for the most part, I'm happy with the Dolphins roster right now. And I just want to see guys get healthy and grow under the scheme, especially on defense. I want to see them grow and adapt to Vic Fangio's scheme. And I think if that happens, the Dolphins defense is an ascending defense.
Yeah.
So let's move on here.
So real quick, Keith, I was going to give you a couple of names that I was kind of thinking that the Dolphins could go after, actually.
Okay.
Cole Clement from the Bears. I know that they weren't sellers, though, but I felt like that would have been a move for Tua that would really help them.
Just signed Clement, though.
They did, but I think that it would be a great move for them to get. Especially getting a tight end. I think that would really help solidify the offense. Right. Even Zach Ertz, that's another name from the Arizona Cardinals. I would love to have seen them go after.
He's on IR.
So I would say with Zach Ertz, Brett, Zach Ertz is basically Mike Gesicki, just older. He's not a very good blocker. And I think that's why the Dolphins didn't use Gesicki a lot last season. And that's why them re-signing him was just kind of out of the question when the offseason rolled around. Go ahead.
You guys have Drew Smythe, great.
Durham Smythe, yeah.
So he's a good tight end. Don't get me wrong, but I think that would complement having Smythe out there. Is it Smythe? I'm saying it right, correct?
Yeah, Durham Smythe. Yeah. I think the Dolphins are happy with Durham Smythe out there. I think he's a good enough blocker and a good enough receiver to get the job done. And I think, obviously, if Gronk was available, prime Gronk, great blocker, great receiver, also, one of the greatest tight ends. All right, cool. We're in. But, Durham Smythe does both things, blocking and receiving, well enough to get the job done. And I think the Dolphins went into the season knowing this, that would be good enough. Cole Kmet would have been great, but what kind of price are you looking for with him?
Yeah.
And Zach Ertz, I don't want Zach Ertz on the Dolphins. I honestly don't. I think he's just another Mike Gesicki. In my eyes. So,
I mean, yeah, and like I was saying, like Zach Ertz is hurt. Like you trade for a dude that maybe you get back in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Like, what kind of upgrade is that for you right now? And then, like I said, the Bears just signed Cole Kmet. Like, they're not eating a whole bunch of his salary, like his dead cap money, just to like trade him 5 minutes after they sign him. It's not like an Odell Beckham Jr. situation. So like there aren't a whole lot of options in terms of like starting caliber tight ends out there. And at the end of the day, like offense isn't the problem for the Dolphins. The offense isn't holding them back here. They're scoring points.
And they played, I mean, granted it was against the Patriots, but they played good enough defense against the Patriots. I think their defense, I think the Dolphins defense is really starting to adapt to Vic Fangio's scheme. It's really encouraging. Like I said last week after the Eagles game, I should have been more upset than I was. But after that Eagles game, I saw the Dolphins defense. If you look at the points they gave up and the yards they gave up, and if you're going to look at the stats solely of that game, then you're going to say that, okay, the Dolphins got dominated. But if you watch the Dolphins defense, if you just sit and watch the Dolphins defense, they're looking more decisive. They're looking faster. And I think that's just them adapting to this new scheme. So I'm wondering if Chris is going to be jumping on with us at all.
He will. But, I'm trying to get his email. I forgot his email off the top of my head, and I don't remember it, and I'm trying to get it from him. So hopefully we can get him on here.
Yeah. But Jake, thank you for the super chat. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we answered your question. What would you like your teams to do at the trade deadline? Hopefully we answered that well enough for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
if
Chris gets on, we can ask him what he thinks the Patriots could have done. The only
trade away everyone.
Whatever.
Mario Douglas.
Linda West, thank you for jumping on. Really appreciate it.
So let's go ahead and start looking ahead. We have our matchups coming up.
We do. Sorry. Yeah, we do. So, we have our matchups coming up. So I'm going to start off with you, actually, Anthony. Your matchup. Yeah.
We are facing the Chargers this week.
Yeah.
And this is since
Chris.
Good to see you. Hello there.
What's happening?
Let's put the order in the correct order. So I'm going to start moving you guys around, putting the order in the correct order. Based off of it, you're going up and down. First place, second place, third place, fourth place. So we got it in the right order now. So
all right. So Jets against the Chargers. I think we can win this game. I think that we've beaten better teams, which is sweet to say. It's at home, which means that we haven't had to travel in 2 weeks now because 3 weeks now because we had the bye. Then we had the Giants game, which is not a travel game, and now we have a home game. So we should be pretty well rested. I want to see how much of the offensive line is still intact. Obviously, Joey Bosa is starting to come back alive for them because he looked pretty bad for most of the season, supposedly. Like Sneaky hasn't looked great. I'd like to see the offense get going a bit. The defense is still relatively healthy. We've only lost like one player on our defense so far this year, like for the year, which is amazing. It's Al Woods, and he's just like a two-gapping fat boy, and we got more of those. So like maybe we lost 15 snaps a game, but we have Tanzel Smart. Like, we've had him on the practice squad. If anybody watched Hard Knocks, like, he was one of the feature players.
Yep.
So, like, I'm kind of, sneaky excited to see this matchup. Justin Herbert is wearing that ridiculous thing on his finger. Looking forward to seeing him get hit a couple of times. Keep the game very close. Breece Hall breaks one again somehow. And then we keep the game close and win by like a field goal with like 8 seconds to go again. I can't wait for another game like that.
Yeah, that was so much fun to watch the first time for me.
It's always fun. I mean, every time.
I seriously wanted to throw up last week, Anthony. I was so upset. So Chris, Patriots have who do they have? They have Commanders this week. Winnable game. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's going to be a winnable game, but you never know what you're going to get from Mac Jones because one week he's looking good, taking down the Bills, and the next week he's getting his behind kicked by the Dolphins. So, it's kind of hard to really expect what Mac Jones you can get from week to week. So we just take it in stride. I thought it was about to be the turnaround of our season. I still have a lot of confidence moving forward, but I guess we'll see. I mean, the Commanders just gave up was it Montez Sweat?
Montez Sweat and Chase Young. Both of them got traded.
Chase Young and Montez Sweat. So their defense is going to be, gashed because they don't have two of the premier edge rushers in the NFL, I'd like to think. And I think definitely it's going to be a winnable game. Take some of that pressure off of Mac Jones and let him get comfortable in that pocket, especially now with lineup has kind of been adjusted since we have Kendrick Bourne out for the season with his ACL tear. So that was sad. We lost our number one receiver. But I think this gives the opportunity for Demario Douglas to step up and be that number one receiver like I anticipate him to be. And hopefully we can see some Jalen Reagor. We can see some Jalen Reagor stepping up on that depth chart and they signed him to our permanent roster. I know, Keith, I know you don't like him. I know he wasn't. Listen, that's the only drum I can bang because Juju and Devontae Parker is not it. So.
No, that's for sure. We saw Jalen Reagor against the Dolphins a little bit, and he looked like Jalen Reagor. He dropped some balls and disappeared for long stretches of that game. That's what Jalen Reagor does best.
Yeah, but I also think that he's still fairly new to the team, so we'll see if he can build some chemistry. I mean, in practice, he obviously showed something to get signed to that roster, but at the same time, our wide receiver core is pretty, it's pretty iffy. It's probably one of the worst wide receiver cores in the NFL.
You have a wide receiver core of number 2 wide receivers, Chris. That's my biggest problem with you guys. I think Devontae Parker's a nice receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster's a nice receiver, but they aren't number 1 wide receivers. And you got a bunch of guys who are, and it was on full display against the Dolphins. None of those guys are fast. None of those guys get solid, consistent separation.
I know.
So, DeAndre Hopkins would have been the guy, and we beaten that. We banged that drum, to death as well. But do you have any predictions for how this game's going to go for you?
I think it's going to be a pretty low-scoring game, but I think overall New England's going to walk away with the win. I probably see it going like 17-10. A real fairly low-scoring game, but So hopefully it does come to that.
Okay. Brett, I'm going to save you for last because you have one hell of a matchup ahead of you. I'm going to talk about the Dolphins Chiefs, which is also a hell of a matchup, if you don't mind my saying so. Hey, 9:30 breakfast with the Dolphins. I love it. They're going to be in Germany this week, and they actually flew out. Yeah, they actually flew out on. I think they flew out yesterday to kind of get themselves acclimated to German time. So they've been out there eating Wiener Schnitzels and Rotkohl for a little while now, and the Chiefs aren't flying out till tomorrow, I believe. That's a questionable decision, if you ask me. But this is going to be another game where the Dolphins are tested. This is another game where they're facing a good team, and they haven't fared well against good teams this season. Granted, both those games are away, and this game is kind of an away game for both teams. So I think it's technically an away game for the Dolphins again. Actually, I think it's technically a home game for the Chiefs, but for all intents and purposes, it's an away game. So, but the thing that concerns me most about this game is the Chiefs are coming off yet another tough loss to the Broncos, just like the Eagles are coming off of a tough loss to the Jets. When the Dolphins played them. So we're going to get the best that the Chiefs have to offer, in my opinion. And
is there any word of whether or not Taylor Swift's going to be suiting up this week?
Oh my God!
Because that's going to determine whether or not you're getting their best.
Yeah, well, she wasn't at the game, was she? So
and that's my point. If she's coming to Germany, you might watch out. If she's not.
So what you're saying is somebody should call in a terroristic threat against Taylor Swift to revoke her passport.
No, I would never suggest that.
And I'm clicking off.
Yeah. FBI have nothing to do with this.
No.
Yeah.
All right, guys. The
guy that's on the left-hand side of the screen, that's the guy that said that. I did not authorize that. I am a admin on here. I'm going to click off. So
the one wearing the mammal on the shirt.
Yeah. It's been a sweet run, but it's shame had to come to an end so quickly.
Yeah, so
demonetize before we make $1.
So Taylor Swift hopefully doesn't show up to this game because she does seem to be the Chiefs' good luck charm. But I don't really take much stock into that stuff anyway. I think what it boils down to is the Dolphins have to execute. They have to execute against a really good team. They have to somehow bottle up what the Broncos did against Patrick Mahomes, and I'm not sure what they did so well against Patrick Mahomes to beat him last week. But they, whatever they did, the Dolphins have to do it. They have to shut down Travis Kelce somehow. They have to shut down the running game of Isaiah Pacheco. I think that they can. I think that they can do it, but I think ultimately they're going to fall short again because I don't know.
I was going to say, speaking of Isaiah Pacheco, have you seen that? I think that's going to be a tough ask because have you seen the way that man runs?
Yeah, he runs like he's mad at the grass.
Oh my God! Every play.
Yeah, he's one of the angriest runners I've ever seen. For a little guy, he's pretty tiny. He's pretty diminutive, but he's so angry. And stopping the run hasn't been the Dolphins' strong suit this season either. So I just kind of think that I don't know that I see this. Yeah, I don't know that I see this going in the Dolphins' favor. I don't know that they're quite ready to beat the better teams in the NFL yet. I think they can get there, but I don't know that they're quite ready for it yet.
This is your second game back with Patrick Ramsey. Or not Patrick Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's not like you're going to be out superstarred on defense because they don't have great receivers. So, it's basically if you can plug the holes in the run fits and you can slow down Kelce a bit.
Well,
Patrick Mahomes runs for his life a lot.
I don't know how healthy Jalen Ramsey is, but if he is healthy enough, I would put him on Travis Kelce because he is the Chiefs. Just stick him on Travis Kelce the entire game. Let the rest of your secondary deal with the Chiefs' lackluster wide receiver core.
I think they have a pretty decent wide receiver core at Kansas City. I think it's underrated wide receiver core, but I just think that they don't really get a chance to shine because Patrick Mahomes passes that ball around so much in the offense. It's not like they have a set wide receiver that he just go to. Not like a Tyreek Hill.
Their best receiver right now is a rookie out of Rice.
Yeah.
He's okay. Yeah. There's no doubt about that, but he's not.
But
he's not Justin Jefferson, not Tyreek Hill. He's a receiver.
Not superstars, but there are only so many superstars in the NFL. Only teams can only have so many. They got, of course, AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb, and who's the other boy from Jamar Chase. So there's 5 superstar wide receivers in the NFL. I'd have to say.
Stephon Diggs.
You get beat by
Stephon Diggs. I forgot. I can't believe I forgot Stephon Diggs. But
CD Lamb goes out for 200 against you. You're okay with that. You're not Rashee Rice is going to have to pull some real, he's going to have to pull some carts behind him if he's going to, if Travis Kelce isn't.
But at the same time, how familiar or how many times have we seen a Chiefs offense that will pull out some of the biggest stops, pull out some of the craziest trick plays, and get their guys open, and just scheme something open, scheme something that you've never seen before for a guy, and be like, wow, where they pull that out the bag, you know?
I agree with what you're saying, Chris. But the Chiefs also, their wide receivers let Mahomes down a couple of times last week, and in week 1 when they didn't have Travis Kelce, they let him down the entire game. You know, Kadarius Toney alone had like 3 drops in that game. In this game
drops in the NFL.
Yeah,
he's the ex-Giant. That's why.
But you know, this game against the Broncos last week, who was it? Sky Moore. Sky Moore dropped a sure touchdown pass. Ball went right through his hands. You know, these guys just. I'm not saying they're a bad wide receiving core. I'm just saying they aren't up to snuff. And Patrick Mahomes, you know, without Kelce, that offense looks so pedestrian. If you can figure out a way to shut Kelce down or even limit Kelce, you stand a much better chance of beating that offense. And I know easier said than done. Teams try to shut down Kelce every week and they fail because he's spectacular. He's got that Taylor Swift magic. But
oh my God.
But you know, but that wide receiver core is, in my opinion, is awfully pedestrian once you get past Travis
Absolutely.
Kelce.
Absolutely. But I think a good a pedestrian wide receiver core can be a difference when you have a great quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. Not saying that the Dolphins are going to lose, or not even saying like, you know, not even trying to put the Dolphins down, but I just think that Patrick Mahomes, you know, versus let's say like Mac Jones, you know, if you have a pedestrian wide receiver core and a pedestrian quarterback, then your whole offense is just pedestrian. But when you got somebody like Patrick Mahomes who's going to hit a guy open, hit him right, you know, right, just going to make the right reads, make the right throws, then he can make anyone look like superstar. Just like I feel like who was it? Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford, he has the ability, he has an uncanny ability to make wide receivers look like superstars.
That's true. Yeah. But so at the end of the day, the Chiefs don't lose very often. I don't see them losing 2 games in a row. I think they're going to take down the Dolphins on Sunday. Unfortunately, don't love saying that, but I do think at the end of the day, the Chiefs are going to come out on top. But I will be in front of the TV with my morning cup of coffee and my breakfast burrito, watching the Dolphins win all the same.
I would like to point out that besides the Chargers that they beat a couple of weeks ago, the Miami Dolphins are by far the best offense that they will have faced all season. And as much as we can talk about the fact that Patrick Mahomes will elevate the players around him, Tua's pretty okay too. Yeah, and the weapons that Tua has are capable of breaking the game open at basically any moment.
I agree.
So, like, this is while I don't disagree that the Chiefs are certainly favorites and reasonably so. I think this Dolphins team, if they can get into a track meet with the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs have a very good defense. They have won most of their games this season off of defense.
Yeah.
If the Dolphins can make this game get a little bit crack open a little bit, I don't know that Patrick Mahomes has the horses to go touchdown for touchdown with the Miami Dolphins. That's what I think it comes down to.
I would agree with you there, but I think the Chiefs defense, people still think the Chiefs are just all offense. They're, you know, but their defense has been really good this season. And their defensive line in particular has been really good against the Dolphins offensive line, which isn't all that healthy right now. They've kind of regressed a little bit back to the mean. This defensive line has a chance to kind of cave in the Dolphins offensive line much the same way the Eagles did against them a couple weeks ago. And that's kind of how I see that's my biggest fear, but it's kind of how I see things going. Chris Jones is an absolute animal. He's unbelievable. And
George Karlaftis has sneaky made the step. Like, he's really getting pressures. That defensive line is real.
Yeah. So I'm going to move on to Brett, his preview of the Bills' upcoming matchup Sunday night football against the Cincinnati Bengals, who are looking more like the Cincinnati Bengals of old.
Who they?
Yeah. Who they?
I haven't heard of them. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I got to give a little love to them, especially with the situation with DeMar Hamlin. I want to give them quite a bit of love that they deserve. The Cincinnati Bengals and the entire fan base of the Cincinnati Bengals has been incredible, especially after the situation that happened with DeMar Hamlin. And this is going to be an emotional game for the Buffalo Bills to play, especially going back to Cincinnati, the field that DeMar is going to have to step back on. And I don't know what type of player we're going to see and how much emotion we're going to see from him. This is going to be a tough matchup from the Buffalo Bills going up against Joe Burrow.
Real quick. Is DeMar going to play in that game?
Personally, I don't think he will.
Okay.
I really don't. Right. With the emotions, with everything that happened, I don't see him playing twice in that game.
Okay.
Especially, I would love to see him out there. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see it, but I just think that with Taylor Rapp and Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde active, I think that all of them are going to be the ones that are going to be on the field. I think you'll see a healthy, inactive DeMar Hamlin, but a embraced DeMar Hamlin out there on the field. And you're going to be going up against guys like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, as well as you have Joe Mixon that's in the backfield there too. This is going to be a fun game with a lot of fireworks and a game that I think the Bills are going to be in a slugfest. And this is a game where we saw Josh Allen. He didn't practice today. That's something that concerns me a little bit, but it was precautionary that he's going to be out. So his shoulder is hurt. Yes, it is. But Josh Allen is Josh Allen. He's going to be able to play if he doesn't practice. He doesn't need to practice.
At this stage of the season, everybody's shoulders are hurting.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
it's
not just Josh Allen. That was just a veteran day of rest. You know?
I'm having trouble getting off the couch because, I'm a couch potato now. And, I have a hamstring injury. That's what's happening to me, getting off the couch after watching the game and everything. There's going to be injuries that happen. So you're going to see Josh Allen out there on the field, but you're going to see Josh Allen light it up against Joe Burrow. And I can't wait for this matchup. This is going to be the first time that I think the Bills are going to be tested this year, especially going up against – now they've been tested, don't get me wrong. Going up against Miami and figuring out that offense is a test.
That wasn't a test. That wasn't a test. Yep. That was a massacre.
The test was against the Patriots.
We've limited our mobility by going down and playing to the level of how opposing teams are. And we've stooped to the level that they play. Now we're going to see the Bills exceed what their competition is, going up against the Cincinnati Bengals, the Kansas City Chiefs coming up. You got the Eagles, the Cowboys. Those are tough matchups, and the Bills have to win these games, and their defense has to show up. Now you bring in a guy like Rasul Douglas, if he does play, going up against one of the three-headed tandem that they have with the Cincinnati Bengals. It's going to be tough, but I can't wait for this matchup, and I'm going to predict, like Mike Fortin says, the Bills win by one or more points in this game. I'm not at liberty to pick at all and say any thoughts because my picks are so far out there. I'm going to pick the win by one or more points so that I'll get it right. This is going to be a game where you need to take the over, though. If you're betting, take the over on the game in terms of points, and as well as take the Bills to win this game too. So don't be surprised if that happens.
Sounds like I'm taking the under and taking the Bengals.
Yeah. 99% of the time I'm wrong, but I think I got this one though.
The Bills have been a weird team to me all season long. You don't know which Bills team is going to show up. But I do think you're going to see the good version of the Bills in this game against the Bengals. That being said, I don't know that that's going to be enough because this Bengals team is looking better and better every week.
Yeah. So
it's going to be Sunday Night Football it's been hit or miss all season for me. This Sunday Night Football game is going to be a lot of fun. I'm gonna be sure to tune in. So look, guys, we have to close it down early tonight. If you want some more content, they're doing a preview show on this Nickel City Mafia channel. Mike and Jake, and I think Brett's going to be on there, right? I
will not be on there.
Okay.
Actually, I'm doing the weekly picks on the Red, White, and Bills channel, so I'll be jumping onto their channel and doing a show. But we have the Sabres Edge going live at the same time, and then we also have the Nickel City Mafia with Jake and Mike, the handsome guys, the handsome trio that we have on the show. So.
All right, so Jake and Mike are going to be doing the preview show for the Bills, so we have to hop off. And if you want some more Bills content, if you want some more football content, tune into that show. It's going to be on right after this one. So I'm just going to get some final thoughts from you guys. Chris, you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, and I don't know if it was discussed. I missed the first portion of the show, but some final thoughts, exciting things around the NFL. The 49ers defense is looking unstoppable. Jamar Gibbs finally lights it up. The Will Levis appearance. That was a very exciting game. So just some of the things I saw across the NFL, and just wanted to bring those up. Wish we could talk about a little bit more, but like you said, we got some other shows to get to.
Anthony, any final thoughts, man?
I mean, just continue going around around the yard for a second. Josh McDaniels fired in his second season yet again. Wow, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick is almost undefeated, sending assistant coaches off to the slaughter.
Brett, any final thoughts, man?
I'm going to say this, though. The 49ers defense is going to be legit. They're going to take them all the way to the Super Bowl in the NFC. And, I mean, Chase Young and and Nick Bosa are going to make a big difference. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's a scary defensive line there for sure. So, look, guys, if you guys like what you heard, please like and subscribe. Tune into Mike and Jake on the Nickel City Mafia channel, and have a nice night. Go Fins.
Go Bills.
Jet up,
Nation.